The progressive elites are in control. They're in control of the media. They're in control of big tech, big business, Wall Street, the military. They're in control of the government. I hate to say I told you so, but, after being shadow banned on most platforms, censored beyond recognition, called a conspiracy theorist, and even losing my sponsors, I think it's safe to say I told you so. The Hunter Biden laptop story, it's been confirmed again, but this time it's actually being covered. So what's happening? The elites, they're frantically surging their assets to plug this wound, this invisible wound that we're not supposed to see. But there's a problem, and the problem is that too many people have woken up. In episode 173 of American Reveille with James Lane, I take you on a magic carpet ride behind the veil. So what's happening? The Hunter Biden laptop is 100% confirmed by the mainstream media. New emails reveal a shocking Hunter Biden Libya connection while Joe was still Obama's number 2 guy. 135 Republicans are voting to take your gun rights away? Why? A black anti-capitalist group extends the olive branch to the working class right and reveals unexpected common ground. And finally, Democrats need to recognize the very real possibility of a Trump 2024 victory. So, the longer that we exist in this alternate American timeline, this woke, elitist Chinese matrix, the longer we won't be free. Open your mind to the possibility that the elites who pretend to have your best interest simply don't. They prosper off the backs of we the people, and we the people need to choose not to take it anymore. So as the progressive elitist worldview develops a crack, working class people of all backgrounds and all ethnicities begin to put their differences aside and rise up as the true enemy shows its face. Next on American Reveille with James Lane. Ladies and gentlemen, James Lane here. This is episode 173 of the American Reveille Podcast. And how are you guys doing? Coming to you from the underground compound up here in the Pacific Northwest, trying to catch a ticket on the choo-choo train out of this horrible commie state. But we still have a little bit of a ways to go. Do me a favor, guys. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, wherever you're listening to this or watching this. There's some sort of like or subscribe button, some way to review. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, give us the 5-star review. It helps. We've been censored beyond belief, but you know what? Until we can get on some AM radio stations and spread our influence through some sort of underground fashion, we're gonna have to still keep begging you to please leave reviews, comments, hit those like buttons, subscribe, hit those notification bells, do everything you can to bypass the censorship algorithms and get the American Reveille wherever you are listening or watching from. For everybody that's been following along for the past, almost 2 years now, I really appreciate you. I thank you guys so much, and I wanted to let you guys know where we stand. So before we get to the Hunter Biden laptop stuff and the anti-capitalist group and all the different things we're going to talk about on the show today, I really want to let you know where we stand as a company. I know a lot of you have wondered where we've gone, are wondering how we're doing, and I want to let you know that you haven't been seeing us because of the censorship. If you subscribe to the newsletter and you're wondering why you don't get the newsletter, check your spam folder. It's probably there. And as most of you know, we put out a once a month status of the company type of report to let you know where we stand, so that you can see that we're still growing, that even though they kick the crap out of us, they've got millions of dollars, big tech, the censors, all those folks. They've got lots and lots of money, and we have basically what I make it my day job because the American Reveille, once again, doesn't make anything. We will make stuff soon. Don't worry. We will. And that stuff will be green. And that green isn't referring to AOC and her agenda. That green's referring to dollar bills so that we can fund more patriotic efforts. But until then, we're going to just keep doing what we're doing. Guys, I want to give you a little inside information. It may seem like I'm rambling. It may seem like I'm going on and on, but I want to give you some inside information. So before we get to the show, take a look at this. Folks, if you go to AmericanReveille.com and you subscribe to the American Reveille newsletter, you'll get yourself the American Reveille end-of-month reports. They show you where the company stands. I sent out a thank you letter. I let everybody know the new website was complete. I let everybody know the podcast hit 50,000 listens. The website hit 30,000 visits for the year. We began sending show kits to AM talk radio stations in Washington, Idaho, Oregon, Montana, Wyoming. We're looking to recruit 2 new writers, bloggers for the month of October. There's so much information you get to let you know what we're doing behind the scenes to grow this freedom-based patriotic movement called the American Reveille. Right now, a radio show, well, trying to be a radio show right now, a podcast, and a publication. Check out the new website, www.americanreveille.com. Here's a free preview. If you're watching, take a look at that. It looks fantastic. There's all these different categories here. You can listen or watch the podcast right on the top. You can see it all. It's very organized, very clean, looks just as good as any of the big dogs out there, Timcast, Bongino, Daily Wire, any of those folks, all right? You also get a weekly newsletter. And if you've been wondering, if you signed up, because we have 600, 700 people that are signed up to the newsletter, but only 50 or 60 see it. So if you are signed up and you've been wondering where the hell is my newsletter, check your spam folder. I've been sending it out for months. If you're watching, look at this clean and beautiful mail publication. You can see we showed the presentation of the Maricopa County election audit results on the website. We had some great articles come out in the last week taxing the poor through inflation, the Democrat master con job, why Americans must not comply with COVID vaccine mandates. We had all kinds of stuff. If Matrix Resurrections is woke, we riot. I wrote that one myself. Wink, wink. Listen. This is a great thing to have. We don't bombard you in the mail. You get 5 things during the month. You get 1 weekly publication. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you get 1 every week. It shows you what we did. And then you get once a month. You get to know behind the scenes what we're doing to make this company grow so that we can fight the leftist agenda. Folks, I really appreciate you taking your time out of the show to just listen to me and take a look at the things we're doing. Take a look at the new website, www.americanreveille.com. Finally, after almost a year of talking about it, updated, upgraded, and ready to rock and roll. Folks, thank you so much for listening. So, folks, last year, maybe even before that, we heard about the Hunter Biden laptop. We heard about the hard drive from Rudy Giuliani and all of the horrible things on it. And I saw crazy pictures. I saw Asian hookers. I saw what could have been Malaya Obama. I saw that picture. I know that thousands of you saw that picture. Saw the picture with his relative or niece or whatever. He's a disgusting person. But we saw all kinds of things that the media swept under the rug. We heard about the emails. We heard from Tony Bobulinski. We heard all of these things, and we were called crazy. We were called conspiracy theorists. People told you, they told me, they told us that we were out of our minds. All right, that we were obsessed, that we were in some cult, that Donald Trump had hypnotized us. We were told to shut up. Lots of us were threatened to lose our jobs. Lots of us lost our jobs. People were intimidated by the general public. People were intimidated by Democrats. People were intimidated by the woke left, and it just fizzled away. The news barely covered it. The New York Post was censored. They were condemned for even revealing the Hunter Biden laptop story, and it all went away. And then poof, guess what? It's now confirmed. It's confirmed by the mainstream media. What a coincidence. Isn't it amazing how all the things they said we were crazy for, all the things that they said that we were out of our minds for, they now quietly, like a thief in the night with a whisper, they now silently confirm our conspiracies. Well, what do you know? The Hunter Biden laptop is confirmed. The New York Post is responding to the confirmation, saying, "Color us shocked." This is coming out by the New York Post editorial board. I want to read you this article. In his new book, The Bidens Inside the First Family's 50-Year Rise to Power, Politico reporter Ben Schreckinger says that evidence points to Hunter Biden's laptop as being legit. While we appreciate the support, the truth is the Post's reports always have been true. And it's only because the media wants to protect Joe Biden and they keep referring to the laptop as unsubstantiated. Schreckinger notes that a person who had independent access to Hunter Biden's emails confirms 2 of the emails the Post published, including one about a potential deal with China with the line 10 held by H for the big guy. That is, Joe Biden. But Hunter Biden's former business partner, Tony Bobulinski, had already said those emails were authentic. The media just ignored him. Schreckinger adds that the emails released by the Swedish government also match emails from the laptop. Hunter had gotten into a kerfuffle when he was staying in a Swedish embassy building. That's also been reported. Look at that right here. If you're watching, there's the famous Hunter Biden smoking a cigarette in a bathtub, a fancier bathtub than you or I could most likely ever afford. For those who doubt, we're reading again that Hunter would forget a laptop at a repair shop. Schreckinger notes that Biden's son abandoned another computer at the home of psychiatrist Keith Abloh. Feds seized that machine when they raided Abloh over abuse claims. Hunter eventually got it back. Quote, "I wasn't keeping tabs on possessions very well for about a 4-year period of time," Hunter said. Hey, remember the other week? I think it was 3-4 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. I don't have a producer to remind me, excuse me, but there was a report that Hunter Biden had lost another laptop. And there was a video where he was complaining to a Russian hooker that he had left, I think, a third laptop, I believe, at a Russian drug dealer's house or another Russian hooker's residence somewhere, somehow. Maybe a gambling thing. The Russians have another Hunter Biden laptop full of incriminating information. It's amazing how much electronic equipment Hunter Biden carries on him and misplaces. Just like I lose my keys all the time and my wife yells at me to look in front of me and try to find them instead of asking her where everything is, Hunter Biden seems to lose laptops in the same way, except he's rich enough to not get yelled at. I do not have that luxury. All of this information is out there. Yet the Times still called the laptop unsubstantiated last week until it was quietly corrected. And even as Politico credited its reporter, it added, while the leak contains genuine files, it remains possible that fake material has been slipped in. What part? The pictures of Hunter smoking crack? Schreckinger called the White House to check whether, as reported, Joe Biden met Hunter for a dinner in April 2015 that included Burisma advisor Vadim Pozharsky. I should have practiced that guy's name before I did this. Biden's team pointed him, and you can't blame me. I did the best I could. You don't have a lot of time to prepare when you're putting these things together. Biden's team pointed him to a Washington Post fact check, which noted that Biden's team had at first said there was no record of such a meeting until they finally conceded that, yes, Joe did drop in on that dinner. The fact confirmed, the writer still concludes, haughtily, that there's less to the story than one might imagine. It's the perfect example of how Democrats weaponize fact-checkers to deflect criticism and enlist social media to censor articles. Nothing to see here. See the Wuhan lab theory. Oh, look, there's a picture of Tony Bobulinski. Consider the level of skepticism brought to bear here. Biden's team lied to us, but we'll take them at their word that nothing of consequence happened at this dinner. Email after email, picture after picture are proved authentic from the laptop. But hey, maybe some of it's fake. The laptop is unsubstantiated because the media doesn't want it to be substantiated. We figure that won't change, but thanks, Mr. Schreckinger, for at least bucking the trend. So it's been amazing. After all of this, after everything you just heard me read has been reported, Biden, his son, they still get away with everything. Biden Jr. there, little Hunter, he's making ridiculously, disgustingly stupid-looking art paintings that look like the rainbow fan on my computer, all right? The rainbow LED fan. If you don't know what that is, Google it. You'll see what it looks like. RGB rainbow LED fan. He literally makes these idiotic paintings. They're like finger paintings, all right? And he's making $500,000 just la-di-da, doing what he wants to do, showing more and more how the elites get away with murder. How we're divided, all right? We've been divided by this horrible woke culture, this progressive left agenda, all right? Regardless of what people believe in this country, we've always been able to find a way to look past that. We have a 50-state system because people from California don't always get along with people from Nebraska, and people from Nebraska don't always fit in with people from New York, and people from New York don't always fit in with people from Florida, unless you're in Broward, Miami-Dade County, then they might be the same exact thing. But the reason we have states, the reason our government's set up the way that it's set up is because we have a huge amount of land and we have different cultures across the land. We're not supposed to be one giant culture. We're a mixing pot. We share the American culture, but to tell you the God's honest truth, different people have different ways that they live their life in different geographic locations in different parts of this country. Different parts of the city are different parts of the country are different parts of the regions across the country are different. It's different everywhere. It's just like some places say it's cola, some places say it's pop, some places say it's soda. It's soda to me because I'm from Florida. But what I'm getting at is that people are different everywhere. And the true folks that want to keep us divided, the true folks that want to destroy our ideology that keeps our different cultures loosely tied together in unity, are the elites, the Hunter Bidens, the Joe Bidens, the Nancy Pelosi's, the folks that pull the puppet strings and the folks above them that pull their puppet strings, that are destroying the fabric of this country for their own gain and the gain of their long-term basic agenda to destroy our way of life. Folks, you have to look past. You have to see what is going on. And as time goes forward, more and more will be revealed. In the meantime, the elites can't plug the leak. They can't do anything to get the bad news to stop raining out of the sky, falling from the clouds, literally pouring acid rain upon Joe Biden, the puppet president, the puppet of the elites. His son, Hunter, all right, is in another world of crap that I hope something's done about it, but probably nothing will be done about it. New emails from Hunter Biden. Business associates reveal he asked for $2 million retainer plus success fees to help them unfreeze $30 billion, that's billion, Dr. Evil style, in Libyan assets while his father was vice president. Emails from Democratic donors Sam Jahari and Sheikh Mohammed al-Rabbani indicated that Hunter Biden had offered to help free frozen Libyan assets. Jahari was frank about the kind of access they believed Hunter Biden might have, as well as his issues involving alcohol and drug use. What do you know? His habits are world-renowned. The two were working to unfreeze billions of dollars in assassinated Libyan President Muammar Gaddafi's foreign assets for the new Libyan government. They stood to gain 5% of whatever they were able to free up for Libya, which could potentially mean hundreds of millions of dollars. Folks, I have a really simple way that if you're not sure, if you haven't made up your mind yet, how you can tell that the elites in this country, all right, the wicked elites, the progressive left elites, there are some elite folks, there are some Donald Trump-like folks out there that have a lot of money, that have their views, but kind of do the right thing by the people, all right? I'm not saying that I trust a billionaire per se, but I am saying that there are people with a wicked agenda, and then that there are other people that believe in a freer system for all. And these left-wing folks, these Hunter Bidens, these Pelosi's, their children, their parents, their brothers, their sisters, their nephews, uncles, cousins, sisters, former roommate, whoever. Listen, all of these folks, they're corrupt. These elites are corrupt. They pit us against each other, the working class of this country, regardless of what we believe, whether we're capitalists, whether we believe that capitalism is bad, whatever it is, they pit us against each other so they can prosper off our backs. That's what they do. That is what they do. And it's time we recognize the distinct and big difference between us and them. I don't believe in what extreme folks believe in. I really don't. But I do see the writing on the wall. I'm not dumb. You don't have to be an extreme person on the right to see the writing on the wall. All right. You can do small things to do something about it. You don't have to be a part of that group. When they point at you and they say you're far right, you're alt right, you're this, you're that, you don't have to accept that. You don't have to acknowledge that. You can be a stable, normal person that does good in this universe, that works hard and has conservative values, but isn't a wackadoodle for believing the truth because it's right in front of your face. They literally call us idiots. They look at you, they look at me, and they say, you're dumb. You're not elite. You're not a part of the super, super rich, affluent upper class that controls everything about society. You aren't one of us. You don't belong. We make the decisions. You sit down. You shut the hell up. They're doing that to us right now. We all see it. It's right in front of our face. So don't be afraid to say something about it. All right? They do it right in front of us. These new emails from Hunter Biden, they're revealing that he's doing stuff in Libya. This guy's a crackhead. All right. Hey, I knew people that were crackheads. They did not negotiate for the freezing or unfreezing of $30 billion, yet $30 of any foreign government, any person's bank dealings, for that matter. So why does Hunter Biden get this prestigious possible job offering? Because he's Joe Biden's son, because he is dealing, all right, with people who want access to to Joe Biden, his 50-year black book of political connections in Washington. Meanwhile, they're destroying our country and what our founding is all about. If you want to know a lot more about that, a great blog post came out on the website. I just want you to take a look really quick, just an intermission. Go to www.americanreveille.com. It's called Leviathan, The True Progressive Agenda by Michael Craig. It's a good little 15-minute read there, but it gets into some deep inside information about what the progressive left and their agenda is and has always been that has led up to this monstrosity. But folks, I want to start reading this. We need to get into it, and we're gonna go right now. A pair of emails from business associates of Hunter Biden revealed he offered to help them unfreeze Libyan assets for a $2 million retainer plus success fees, while they also discussed their misgivings over his drug and alcohol abuse. Success fees sounds like some mafia stuff, doesn't it? Like, if I complete the job, I want an extra amount. You know, you get 150 up front, 150 after the deed is done. That's what it sounds like to me. The email exchanges were between mid-level Democratic donors Sam Jahari and Sheikh Mohammed al-Rabbani, who in 2015 were both working on behalf of the new Libyan government to free up $30 billion in state foreign assets. They had been frozen by the Obama administration under the deposed Muammar Gaddafi regime in 2011. The emails are unrelated to those on his laptop, which outlined a number of his other business dealings. The computer was found at a repair shop in Delaware. In their first email dated January 28, 2015, sent by Jahari to al-Rabbani and obtained by Business Insider, Jahari discusses what he believes the younger Biden might bring to the table in their efforts. He outlines the number of connections Hunter has, including his role as chairman of the UN World Food Program, and the relationship he has with then Secretary of State John Kerry and his then Vice President father, which in turn could provide access to Obama's file on Libya. How in the hell does Hunter Biden have or had a role as the chairman of the UN World Food Program? In his time smoking Parmesan cheese, is that what it is? He's experienced with smoking Parmesan cheese, thinking that it's crack after days and days and days of crack-induced benders? Is that how you get a UN World Food appointed position? Is there a special hat for that? Does he get to wear a cheese hat? No, since he travels with Dad, this is a quote, he is connected everywhere in Europe and Asia where MQ, Muammar Gaddafi, and LIA, Libya Investment Authority, had money frozen, Jahari writes. Adding that Hunter has also said he has high-level access in China and that he can help there. So the laptop is confirmed, and it is said, it is written, it's in the email, that Jahari said that Hunter has high-level access in China. There's a lot of stuff going on in China, involving Biden, involving Hunter Biden, a lot of stuff in China involving a little thing known as COVID-19. How deep does this rabbit hole go, guys? How deep do you really think it goes? China, at the time, had been blocking the release of roughly $15 billion in Gaddafi's assets that Obama ordered frozen amid a bid to increase its influence in Africa. Jahari wrote that Hunter wanted $2 per year retainer and success fees. $2 means $2 million. It says it right here. Sources familiar with the effort told Business Insider that 2 meant $2 million, and that Jahari and his associates stood to gain 5% of whatever Libyan money they were able to free up. That sounds so mafia. It sounds like they watched some Casino, some Sopranos, and made some decisions there. Jahari is frank, however, about how Hunter might pose problems for their endeavors. Quote, his negatives are that he's an alcoholic drug addict, kicked out of the U.S. Army for cocaine, chasing low-class hookers, constantly needs money, liquidity problems, and many more headaches, he wrote. That sounds like everything we've been talking about for well over a year. In the second email, dated a little more than a year later, on February 26, 2016, talks with Hunter Biden over his role in the Libyan project appeared to still be ongoing. In it, John Sandweg, a lawyer who served as Obama's acting director of immigration and customs enforcement, sends Jahari and al-Rabbani a report on his talks with Hunter, according to Business Insider. That's great. I spoke with HB's team yesterday. They are interested in the project, but emphasized that for them to get involved, the team, lobbyists, lawyers, and PR would need to be a small group of folks that they have a tight relationship with each other. Listen, guys, why would Hunter want a small group of people to be in the know about this unless he had something to hide? Unless he had something to hide. There's a picture of Muammar Gaddafi right there. They do not want a large group involved. They only want people with whom they have a close relationship with due to the sensitivities surrounding their involvement, Sandwig wrote. The talks came as Joe Biden was weighing his run for president. In both emails, they report that Hunter had requested secrecy over his involvement. Ultimately, Johari ended up hiring neither Sedgwick nor Hunter to help with the effort to free up the funds, but Sandwig confirmed to Insider that he had been in contact with an associate of Hunter Biden. They indicated that they would consider it and passed the message back, he told the outlet. Look, folks, I believe anything at this point in regards to Hunter Biden. There's been so much sneaky, shady stuff. I'm just waiting for the Hiroshima bomb of information to explode. The elites are going to do everything that they can, everything in their power to hold back the floodgates. But we, the people, if we keep fighting, if we keep working together, if we keep spreading the truth, those floodgates will burst open. The dam will be broken and a flood of information will come out and we will see the true face of the bad guys here. The elites will be revealed. That's just how this works. That's just how it's going to be. Sometimes it's slow. Sometimes it takes time. We have to be patient, but you have to keep pushing back on their agenda. Hunter Biden won't get away forever. He won't get away forever, but it starts with you. It starts with you electing the right people. It starts with you paying attention in local government, local politics. What are the people in your local government being influenced by? What companies, what people? Dig, folks, dig. It doesn't make you a conspiracy theorist. There are some crazy things going on out there that aren't true, but there's a lot of things that you've heard that actually are. So you should question things. You should check out what other sources of information have to say, and then you should make a decision yourself. That's how this works. For instance, most people don't know. They don't realize that people that you trust, people that seem to support Trump, people that seem to be supportive of an America First agenda are also supportive of taking your gun rights away. Folks, check out this article. We're not going to spend too long on this, but I want you to see this. This is from the National File. It says, read the names. 135 Republicans vote with Democrats to advance red flag gun confiscation bill as part of NDAA. It says Republicans fall for classic Democrat trick to include controversial legislation in a bill to fund the troops, not the truth, excuse me. This is by Tom Pappert. All right, guys, take a look. I want you to listen to this. This is very, very important because people you would never expect are in this list. And I have a question for those people that I'll reveal at the end of this article. This morning, the United States House of Representatives voted to advance legislation that will allow police to confiscate firearms of individuals believed to be a threat to themselves or others, known as red flag laws, that became highly controversial during the Trump administration due to the fears that they would be abused. This anti-Second Amendment bill, which soared through the U.S. House and will now head to the Senate, had the bipartisan support of 135 Republican representatives. All right, folks, really quick, the issue with this isn't that psychotic people shouldn't have guns. It's that you can abuse this. If you give the government the right to just blankly take away gun rights from folks and confiscate their weapons based upon the accusation or the belief that they're out of their mind or they shouldn't have those guns, how far does it go? If my neighbor who doesn't like me or wants to hurt me or wants to rape my daughter or steal my possessions calls the government, calls the police and says, my neighbor, I hear him at the night howling like a wolf and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. I hear his wife screaming. I hear him out of his mind. I heard he's a veteran. I heard all of these things. He has guns too. And I see him playing with those guns. He's just making them up. Let's just say he's making all of these things up. Will they then come and take my firearms away? If this passes, they just might. That's very, very, very powerful in the hands of the wrong people. So why is it being voted for? It's very strange. While many of those who voted alongside Democrats are not surprising to many, others portray themselves as America First candidates who seek to realize President Donald Trump's agenda. Among these are Reps Matt Gaetz, Madison Cawthorn, Elise Stefanik, Devin Nunes, Ronnie Jackson, President Trump's former White House doctor, Greg Pence, the brother of former Vice President Mike Pence, as well as House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. Why? I wonder. Who else voted for this? Other Republicans who voted for the red flag law gun confiscation bill include many of President Trump's opponents, including those who voted for impeachment. Among these are Reps Herrera Butler, Dan Newhouse, Fred Upton, Peter Maher, John Katko, Dave Vallado, Adam Kinzinger, and Liz Cheney. That's that group, Liz Cheney, wanting to take over the Republican Party, get rid of the Trump Republicans. So are these Trump Republicans, the Kevin McCarthys, the Mike Pences, the Greg Pences, the Devin Nuneses, the Madison Cawthorns, the Matt Gaetz of the world, are they just covering their butts just in case Liz Cheney does win, just in case somehow, some way the MAGA movement is crushed and the left retains power and the right reforms itself, cleansing its palate and removing all of the MAGAites from its ranks, with Liz Cheney leading it as a Cerberus of some sort of snake, some serpent, with Liz Cheney at the head if she leads the party. Are these folks, Matt Gaetz, Madison Cawthorn, Elise Stefanik, Devin Nunes, and so on, are they trying to make sure that their political careers survive? Are they playing politics? Are there other reasons? What are the reasons? I want to know why they would vote to give my neighbor the power to play God with my Second Amendment rights. As is typical for Democrat presidents, the red flag law gun confiscation legislation, that's such a rhyme right there. The red flag law gun confiscation legislations. The red flag law gun confiscation legislation, it's a new Schoolhouse Rocks, was folded into the often controversial National Defense Authorization Act bill for 2021, which funds the United States Armed Forces. Typically, Democrats use this bill, which is politically costly for Republicans to avoid assenting to ram unpopular legislation through the House. One thing I don't understand, right? Because that's why these Democrats, these Republicans, these pro-Trump Republicans, they're going to use that as a shield. They're going to say, hey, we did this because the military, our woke-ass military, wouldn't be funded without us voting for this. Well, maybe, just maybe, the Republican Party should have some balls for once. They should have a spine, a backbone. They should stand up and say, fine, we're not funding anything. At some point, the left has to give, don't you think? Why can't, I never see this, why can't a Republican stand on a soapbox in their town with a camera on them and say, hey, we know this is going to hurt the military, but we're doing this because they want to take your guns away. And we're trying to make sure we're not dumb. We're not dumb politicians, lefties. We're not dumb. We're smart. The American people are smart. They can come to us. They can say, hey, We know this is going to suck for a bit, but we have to do it because of this. It's in our best interest to do it because of this and that. If we stand up and we don't allow the funding, we have more time to negotiate the removal of this program, which takes your guns away. Why can't they say that to us? They don't. They're too scared. They're cowards. They're afraid that they'll lose their political career. That's why I wonder who's whispering in the ear of the young Madison Cawthorn. He's fresh. Is it Matt Gaetz giving him advice? Who could it be? Is it Devin Nunes? These people that we think are our friends, our allies, our politicians that we look up to, are they? Do we really believe in them? I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm not saying that they're even doing this. I'm not saying that they even have ill intentions. All I'm saying is that you should question everything. In 2012, many Republicans faced similar outcry from voters after they voted for Barack Obama's 2012 NDAA, which Obama signed into law in December of 2011. The 2012 NDAA legalized the indefinite detainment and detention of American citizens, which you're seeing right now with some of the January 6th protesters. Just want to bring it up. Just making a point. Just saying. All right? Just saying. The 2012 NDAA legalized the indefinite detainment and detention of American citizens and made it illegal to protest an event where Secret Service was present. Many Republicans defended their vote by claiming it was necessary to make sure active duty troops would receive their pay. The ACLU slammed the Obama regime for the law at the time, but it became law nonetheless. And like I said, it's because Republicans don't seem to ever have a spine. They don't do anything about anything. Stand up for what you believe in. Stand up for what you believe in. So tell me, why do you think 135, was that the right number? 135? Yeah, it's right there. 135 Republican representatives. Why do you think they voted to allow your neighbor to have so much power, to allow the left to have so much power, to allow your guns to be taken away based upon accusations? Did they do it to save their own skin later on? Did they do it because they were ignorant and they didn't read the bill? Did they do it because they thought there would be political fallout for not defending the military but defunding the military in protest? Which eventually they would have gotten funded. You can't have a country without a military. All right? Are they actual elitists? Are Matt Gaetz, Madison Cawthorn, Devin Nunes, Greg Pence, Mike Pence's brother, Kevin McCarthy, are these people to be trusted? Are they really for MAGA, for America First, for Trump's political agenda? Are they just saving their own skin? Here's what I know. While the elites are scrambling to save their own skin, while they're scrambling to pull their act together, while everything is falling apart around them, unlikely things seem to be happening. I told you last week on American Reveille, episode 172, about Nicki Minaj becoming an unlikely figure, an unlikely person standing up for free speech. Well, now, opposing points of view, people from the apparent left, what's supposed to be the left, I guess, people from the socialist side of things, and people from the right, the MAGA crowd, all right, people that were standing up for their bodily autonomy, for their rights to not get a vaccine, are standing side by side. It's very strange how these groups have come together over something that happened with Nicki Minaj, but it just goes to show how there's possible ways, hear me out, that the United States could start to unite over a common bad guy, a common enemy. And who is that common bad guy? It's the elites that have further corrupted the U.S. government and don't want to work towards a solution that would bring true peace and equality across this country. Not equity. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for equality. And in the true sense of things, my enemy, or the enemy of my enemy, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, We don't always have to see eye to eye. We don't have to have the same ideologies to stand side by side as Americans against something. And that's a pattern that has historically repeated itself over time in the United States. And it seems to be happening again and again and again. And I wanted to go through this article. I wanted to talk about it. It seemed to be very interesting, and it seemed to be informative of what's actually happening in the United States behind the scenes, beyond what the mainstream media tells you, in the streets and in the neighborhoods across this country, how real people feel. We all know that a disproportionate amount of African Americans don't want to get the vaccine. We know that the news, that the Biden administration, we know they're all lying. We do. We know that they're the ones, the Democrats are the ones being racist, all right? And these groups, they have their own belief system, all right? But we all have our own different cultures and belief systems. And I can respect a group that actually sticks to what they believe in, even if I don't believe in what they believe in, because this is, at the end of the day, a free country. I am okay with people coming together, organizing, having a belief, all right, and pushing those ideas, because that's the American way. I am not okay with a government being tyrannical, all right, and hurting the American citizens to manipulate the direction of a country, all right? We control the government. The government does not control us, all right? And that is something that some of us all agree with, regardless of our differences. All right. We've heard again and again, oh, well, why is the left, if they say that vax mandates are good, why don't they believe in voter ID? That's hypocritical. And I agree. It mostly is hypocritical. What isn't hypocritical is when one or two or some of these groups come out and say, yeah, you're right. We don't agree with voter ID, and we don't agree with vax mandates. Vax mandates are a violation of our constitutional rights. And I go, oh, that's a little confusing, because I don't agree with what you normally agree with. I don't believe in some of the things you believe in. I think some of your concepts are crazy, but you think the same way about us. But we can both agree that the government has no right to tell me what to put in or not put in my body. All right? Plain and simple. Whether you have it or you don't have it, respect each other. Respect each other. This is America. So let's get into this article. Let's take a look. Let's read and get through the concept, because I'm building up to something. We're talking about this in episode 173 of the American Reveille Podcast. This episode that really talks about unlikely alliances. It really talks about a different way to look at things. It tells you who the real bad guy is, and it's the progressive elites that are running the country, that are running the world right now. These great reset people, these progressive folks that believe they know what's best for the destiny of the civilization of humanity. All right, they don't know what's best, and we, the people, run this country. Group that protested CDC in support of Nicki Minaj invites Trump supporters to join them for demonstration this Friday at CDC headquarters, says CDC employees threw things at them. This is by Cassandra Fairbanks. It is from Gateway Pundit. It's from September 23rd. The group that protested in support of Nicki Minaj and against Dr. Anthony Fauci is planning another demonstration outside the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention headquarters in Atlanta this Friday, and hopes Trump supporters will join them. The Fraud Fauci Friday protest will be taking place this Friday from 5 p.m. until 7 p.m. and every week until what they hope to be their biggest on November 22nd. There's a picture of the guy right there running the show. The protest was set up by the anti-capitalist Black Hammer Organization's Commander-in-Chief Ghazi Kodzo, who, it might be Kodzo, I don't know, who spoke to the Gateway Pundit about how they hope to put political differences aside to fight together against vaccine mandates. Kodzo told Gateway Pundit that, quote, "This is such a human issue that we can't let things that used to separate us continue to separate us. A real core value of our humanity is literally being ripped from us, the ability to say what goes inside our own bodies." I can agree with that. Quote, If we do not make that choice that this administration tells us to make, we are no longer capable of working. Kadzo continued, he said he is willing to stand with anyone who is willing to go side by side with me to fight for that core value. According to Kadzo, while he is a fan of Nicki Minaj's music, so am I. The reason for protesting was because they believed in what she was saying. He said that the iconic performer was aware of the protest and that she was liking tweets from other people about it. Quote, she did catch wind of what we were doing. She liked a few tweets, Kadzo said. He said that there is a lot of pressure on her and that the liberal media has been trying to create scandals surrounding her because of her refusal to bow down and play ball. If you remember correctly, last week, like I told you, Nicki Minaj, she got canceled. Well, she got a small ban from Twitter. They slapped her for having her own view on the vaccine, for having her own view on what she puts in her body, doesn't put in her body, for telling a story about what happened to somebody in Trinidad, how their testicles swelled up, whether it's true or not. It could be. It might be. Probably is. I don't see why she would lie about it. And how she's never going to be on Twitter again. And now she's standing up. She's fighting for free speech. She's saying the right things and people are following her on it. And that's good. She has 22 million followers. So we want Nicki Minaj to be on our side. But if you wanted to know what he meant by refusal to bow down and play ball, that's what he meant. Kadzo said that the way people attacked Minaj for agreeing with Tucker Carlson is part of an effort from the liberal media to make people subscribe to this belief that the right is totally evil Nazis, people that you can't talk to, agree with, or be around. It's just a really vile place that they've created, and he's not wrong. He's not wrong. We have differences, but this is the modern civilized world. And if we can do this, if we can fix this without being in the streets and having a civil war with each other, citizen to citizen, it would be better. It would be better for all of us. I'm a father. I have kids. I don't want violence. I want communication, and I want cooperation. What we really do have is a woke problem in this country and an elitist problem in this country. And I can put my differences aside to work with somebody that might have differences with me if we both believe in America. If we both believe in America, we can have conversations. The left, the crazy, progressive, psychotic left, the elites in this country, they don't want to have a conversation about how to reimagine anything, about how to make things right, about how to restore things constitutionally, restore states' rights. They don't want to talk about any of that because if it just gets worse, the more they profit. They make more money, the crazier things are in this country. What happened to Minaj resonated with Kadzo because he, like Minaj, had been censored on social media for posting a story about a relative who had an adverse reaction to the vaccine. He said his posts were deleted and he was placed in Facebook jail for daring to discuss it and ask questions. Quote, I had made a post asking for prayers for my aunt who was having side effects from the vaccine. It was taken down, he explained. Even on Instagram, I couldn't go live for a week. I can't voice my opinion online, so where else do I do it other than outside the CDC's gates? So he doesn't lie there. I'm in Facebook jail every 30 days. All right. If anybody's wondering why American Reveille hasn't been posting anything on Facebook, I'm in Facebook jail again. All right, for literally making a comment about a video from a bouncer video, a video literally about a drunk person in front of a nightclub in England. And I was a bouncer for a long time, so I had a professional opinion. And boom, I'm banned again. I'm banned again off Facebook. Facebook jail all the way. As many of you are, it's part of the censorship. So I believe him when he says that. The algorithms, they censor everything talking about a subject. All right. It's not just people on the right. It's anybody that goes against the leftist elite narrative. They all get censored. There is no mercy. There's no mercy. If there was, Nicki Minaj wouldn't have been hit. Plain and simple. plain and simple. The highly animated and charismatic organization leader continued on to say that I've had these liberals, these leftists and communists who talk about the rights of the worker, literally threatening me, saying, how dare you protest with Trumpers? How dare you protest with them and not with us? But they are pushing the vaccine. And that's something that he's revealing that people need to understand. All right. There are all these crazy leftist groups out there that we don't agree with, but most of them are under the control of the government. All right. Most of them follow what Biden says, what Fauci says, what the CDC says, what the government tells them to do. They're not actually following their beliefs. They don't actually stand for what they believe in. If I don't agree with Kadzo, that's okay. If he stands for what he believes in, even somebody that I don't agree with, even somebody who may be an enemy, whether we are or not, that I don't know. I've never met the guy. I don't think we are. But if he was, there's such a thing as respect for each other. Still, you can respect your enemy. You can respect a neutral party, your neighbor. You can respect somebody you don't agree with. You can respect each other and not like each other. That's okay. I can respect somebody who stands for what they believe in. And these elites do not stand for what they believe in. And these subgroups, all right, these BLM groups, these Antifa groups, they don't believe. They're different chapters across this country, and they just toe the line for Joe Biden. This is from Kadzo, quote, all these socialist organizations, all of them, they're pushing the vaccine. I mean, they were even pushing it back in the day when only old people could take it, he explained. They're telling me that it's okay for Joe Biden to say that my people can't work if we do not take the vaccine. If you can't agree with me that my people have the right to decide what goes in their body, and that if they make a choice, you disagree with me, and they still have the right to earn money and be able to eat. If you can't agree with me on that, there's nothing else for me to talk to you about. I don't care about Marx. I don't care about your hammer and sickle. You don't want me to have a right not to have an injection into my body. Even with all the politics that I believe in, like anti-colonialism and the white power system, I do not agree with white people not being able to feed their children. I don't want that type of world. If you say you're a freedom fighter, how much more to the base of freedom can you get with that issue? All right. How much more to the base of freedom can you get than this issue? Kadzo continued with that statement. Kadzo said that when they were outside the CDC, they were praying and singing with their signs, not being aggressive or causing any trouble, but that employees from the agency were being highly confrontational and disrespectful towards them. Some, Kadzo says, were even throwing things from their luxury vehicles. I don't have one. Quote, the people that work at the CDC started flicking us off and started trying to get out of their cars to attack us. Homeland Security came and they were protecting us from the CDC employees. It was wild. So again, I can agree with that. You know, this country, America, the United States of America, it was founded on being able to have your belief, being able to have your own cause, to fight for freedom and do it peacefully. All right. Martin Luther King did a lot of things, did most things, did all things peacefully. He wasn't Malcolm X. All right. And this guy right here is promoting a Martin Luther King type way. If he wants to get his point across, whether I agree with it or not, if he does it peacefully, it's allowed by our Constitution, and I have to respect it. And by him calling out all of these other left-wing organizations, by him calling out the socialists, calling out all these folks and saying that they don't represent what they stand for, I can at least respect that. All right. I can start with that. I can work with that. All right. He doesn't have the power to control my mind. He doesn't have the power to control my life, my property, my family, my beliefs. All right. But the government, the tyrants in the government, they can come and take everything from us. They can come and take everything from us. Kadzo said that Homeland Security agents had to tell CDC employees that the protesters were not doing anything wrong or breaking any laws. The diverse group who had gathered, including a Trump-supporting nurse and a scientist, he said, but the media did not report on that aspect of it. I was there asking questions. We've done nothing but be their slaves for 18 months. We've had to do whatever they said for 18 months and nothing has changed. But they're surprised we're there? You're surprised people are upset with you, Kodzo said of the CDC employees that were angered by the protesters' presence. The organizer said that while his group wears masks, he does not understand why people get mad at those who choose not to. He pointed out that Dr. Fauci had originally said that masks do not work, but then kept changing his story. Quote, Fauci never went back and said, you know what, I was wrong. If Fauci had to go on TV and tell everyone each time he was wrong, he wouldn't be America's doctor anymore, Kodzo said. Kodzo asserted that these days, it seems like the unelected Dr. Fauci is the only one who is actually running this country and calling the shots. He also noted that the doctor had originally claimed that there would not be any kind of vaccine mandate placed upon the American people, which was obviously untrue. You remember that? I remember that. He said he didn't see that coming. It's not going to happen. But here we go. Here we go with Joe Biden being a tyrant and breaking his constitutional oath by acting like King SHI you know what. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Ever since Joe Biden, this is a quote, has been the president, he has been a puppet for whatever Fauci says. Dr. Fauci is the freaking president. I don't know what Kamala's doing. Every time you ask her a question, she's just giggling, Kodzo said, adding that every issue she tries to fix, she just seems to make worse. When asked if there's anything else Kodzo would like to say to Gateway Pundit readers, I got stuck there skipping like a CD player with no anti-skip from 1999. When asked if there was anything else Kodzo would like to say to Gateway Pundit readers, he urged people to keep asking questions. Do not let this propaganda machine tear you away from your core values, Kodzo said. And you know what, folks? It's true. It's true. It's 2021, folks. It's 2021. We can disagree on other things. We're evolved. We're human beings, all right? We're not cockroaches, all right? We're all human beings. We can disagree with some things and agree on other things. All right. There are people in this world who aren't completely poisoned by Trump derangement syndrome or aren't completely poisoned on the other side by some hate or some sort of racism that doesn't exist, but in small, tiny pockets around this country that the left has blown up into some crazy story. There exists differences, yes. Cultural differences, music differences, food likes, weather, all kinds of political differences. But once upon a time, we were able to put those things aside and talk about things, agree on some things, move the political process forward, move forward in a good way. You don't even know your neighbors, do you? Do you? Tell me, what's your neighbor's name? Do you know two of your neighbors? Who are your neighbors? I don't know my neighbors where I live. We have to get back to some old school values with maybe a new school facelift, but we can't get anywhere without talking, without communicating, without respecting each other. And if he can respect me, I can respect him, and we can meet at a table and we can talk. That is the American way. That is the American way. And don't ever forget it. If you hope to retain and maintain the righteous high ground, you have to be able to do what I just said. Plain and simple. You have to be able to do what I just said. And let's see who these folks are. Let's do a little experiment. Let's take a look at their website, blackhammer.org. Let's take a look at their website and see if there's anything on it we can agree upon. Boom. Right here. Look at this. Sellout AOC dropping jaws and dropping bombs. That's their top article. All right. AOC, they don't seem to like her very much. Haitian migrants whipped on horseback while trapped. We know that that's been disproven. We don't agree with that narrative, but this is an anti-white group. They're an anti-white, black, anti-capitalist group, right? So, hey, we're not going to agree with the things that they're talking about, right? We can agree we don't like AOC, right? We know that the Haitian migrant whipped thing has been debunked, right? The elites in this country, they're trying to hang on to that woke narrative and manipulate folks through it. But I can agree with not liking AOC. They have all kinds of stuff on here. They don't believe in the COVID shot. They are doing their own thing. All right. I'm not a part of their group. I don't agree with their group. But you know what? again, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? You've heard that before. And the elites in this country, they have the power to destroy this country. They have the power to take this country away from them, from us, from everybody, to take our rights away from us. Look what they're doing right now. Look how they're screwing this country up. Look how the elites are screwing the world up. So if we can put our differences aside to work together on little things, we can settle our differences later. And you know what? I have something to say about this. I have something to say about what I think would be helpful for this. All right. States' rights. States' rights are a thing. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, you can put it in the comments section below or send me an email, jameslane@americanreveille.com. But I believe in one of the Federalist Papers, it talks about how the Electoral College doesn't have to meet in Washington when it's time to elect the president because they believed it would cause too much fighting. Because America was so big, it was so vast, there was some kind of thing where they believed that all the cultural differences of all the different states would lead to problems in Washington, D.C. So they send that stuff in. And it made me think. It made me think about how this great big country of ours, it's huge, it's gigantic. You have no idea. You really need to Google how big this country is. If you don't want to Google, use DuckDuckGo. I use DuckDuckGo a lot. But folks, this country is so big that there's literal cultures, there's literal different ways of life across this country, this huge, huge country of ours. There's room. There's room. It's huge. Have you ever driven across this country? I've had to drive across this country multiple times. It's a gigantic country. So by giving the power back to the states, let there be states that make their own laws and rules and regulations. Let the federal government mind its own business and butt out. Let's get rid of all of these overreaching federal policies. And if California wants to be a woke, crazy paradise, let them be. And all the freaking people that want to live like Oklahomians move out of California and move to Oklahoma and vote like Oklahomians. And if you don't want to be in Oklahoma, and you want to be in Chicago, get your ass to Chicago. But get your culture right. Let the states have their own culture, their own laws, their own beliefs, their own rules, their own rights. Let's figure it out. There's obvious things. Look, I'm not telling you to repeal amendments that protect people, that protect the rights of people, that give people citizenship, that give people voting rights. That's not what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about the federal government coming in. All right. And telling you what you can do with your body, telling you what you can do with your citizens. I don't think that's right. I think there's a way that people in this country with different beliefs can come together in every state and find some sort of common ground. There really has to be a way. It's 2021, folks. Get your crap together. Really, get your head out of the sand and get your stuff together. There has to be a way. There really does. Look. The reality of things, the truth is, and you've all heard it, at least many of you have heard it. If you've never heard it and you're hearing it for the first time, I want you to understand its truth. You can look it up right now. All right. It's absolute truth. Hesitancy, vaccine hesitancy, people who don't want to take the vaccine. All right. Most of them are black. Black people don't want to take the vaccine. All right. There's a lot of people that don't want to take the vaccine. I'm not saying this to single out black people. I'm just telling you a statistical fact. I want you to know this fact so that you understand how the mainstream media and how Joe Biden and his group there, I don't want to call them administration because they don't do anything, but his party of folks, I guess you could call it, his party of good dudes, I guess. I don't know. I guess you could call Psaki a dude. She kind of looks like one. They lie to you. They all lie to you. They lie to me. They lie to you. They think you're stupid. They tell you to get the vax. And they tell you that everybody wants to get the vax. And they tell you that evil Trump supporters make up all the folks that don't want to get the vax. And that's just not true. That's just not true. The truth is that it shouldn't matter who does or doesn't get the vax. All right. It's your own choice. All right. It seems that some groups, all right, some groups that we don't see to eye with most of the time, we can at least agree with that concept. All right. That the government doesn't have the right to tell us what to put in our body. And we don't. All right. We don't or shouldn't be I guess I should say, we shouldn't be persecuted. We shouldn't be punished. We shouldn't be subjugated, or we shouldn't be put in invisible chains for not getting the vaccine. All right. There's a thing called respect. I've talked about it before, and we should be able to respect each other and what each other do, what we believe. Hey, if you don't want to be near a vaccinated person or an unvaccinated person or a masked person or a non-masked person, stay the hell away. But the government doesn't have the right to tell me that my 2-year-old needs to wear a mask on an airplane. How the hell does that work? And my local government doesn't have the right to tell me that I can't go to KFC if I don't wear a mask, or if I don't have a vaccine. Like in many places around this country, they're starting to sprout up their vaccine card BS, their vaccine card nonsense. All right. And some groups, some BLM groups, they're protesting this. They're showing the public. You have CNN, you have other mainstream media organizations telling people, saying that Black people love to get vaccinated, love it, want nothing more than a vaccination. But the facts are on video. The facts are on picture. This is 2021. Social media is a thing. And as this says, this is a website, hotair.com, inevitable. BLM to protest restaurant over vax passport policy. All right. I want to show you, just to back up all the things I'm saying, just to back up the last article we went through in the show, the one that was talking about the Black Hammer organization. I want to show you how these groups, some of these people, all right, some of these Americans that don't see eye to eye with us, all right, at least believe in basic American principle, all right, which is, hey, big government, stay the F out of my business. All right. Listen, just because I'm agreeing, I'm going to say it again. I've said it 100 times so far in this podcast, but I have to say it so people understand where I stand. All right. And don't lose faith in James Lane just because they think I mean one thing, but I really mean something else. Just because I agree with one thing that they believe in doesn't mean that I agree with or stand for or believe in their core values. We do not share complete core values, though some of them may be the same. But like I said before, and like I'll say again, I can respect somebody, even if there's somebody I don't see eye to eye with, even if there's somebody I consider my enemy. I respect somebody who is at least honest and sticks with their beliefs and doesn't twist what they believe in, doesn't twist definitions, doesn't twist the truth to gain advantage. All right. If they're going to stay honorable, all right, if they're going to keep to the rules of war, let's just use that, then I can at least share some common ground with somebody I don't share core values with, because I am a human, I'm an adult. All right. And it's 2021. That's just how it works. We don't have to bash everybody over the head with a frying pan. All right. Let's read this, guys. Enough chitter chatter, enough jibba jabba, as Mr. T would say. After a disturbance, be Baracus. After a disturbance. Come on. You better know. This podcast has been going long enough, and I've made enough goofy references over the last 170 plus episodes for you not to know. If you're young, for you not to know what the A-team is and who B. Baracus is and how you shouldn't get them on an airplane. And if you don't know, figure it out. After a disturbance, let's get back to this, at Carmine's restaurant in New York City last week that led to several people being arrested for assault, a new angle has been brought into a debate over immunity passports and vaccination mandates in bars and restaurants. 3 women who were visiting from Texas arrived at the restaurant and were seated last Thursday. But when a group of men arrived to join them, they refused to show the hostess their CDC vaccination cards or any other acceptable immunity passport and were refused service. This led the women to assault the hostess. While unfortunate, we've heard similar stories before, but as I said, this one has a bit of a twist. The women and the men were all Black. Now, the New York chapter of Black Lives Matter is entering into the fray, and they'll now be protesting the restaurant over accusations of racism. Going one step further, they're declaring that the entire vaccine passport plan is racist. That comes from the Daily Wire. Quote, Black Lives Matter's Greater New York chapter plans to protest Carmine's restaurant in New York City following reports that a hostess tangled with a group of black women over COVID-19 vaccination cards. The group is also claiming that the city's vaccine passport is racist. Fox News reported that a 24-year-old hostess was assaulted Thursday at Carmine's by the 3 black female tourists from Texas after the hostess requested to see their COVID-19 vaccine card. Kaidia Nakenji Rankin, 44, Tayani Keshe Rankin, 21, and Sally Rochelle Lewis, 49, were arrested and charged with assault and criminal mischief. Later reports seemed to indicate that the women were seated, but ended up in an argument with the hostess after men who were supposed to join their party refused to provide the hostess with their proof of COVID-19 vaccination. See, look. Like I said before, remember states' rights? I've talked about states' rights before. These people, all right, these Americans obviously have a very Texas outlook on things. Vaccine passport? Hell no. That's what they believed, and they got into a tuffle. A BLM spokesperson released a statement saying he believes the city's immunity passport mandates for indoor activities are being used to keep black people out of spaces. He further claimed that if the passport system isn't canceled, police will use vaccination status as an excuse to harass and arrest our people. Look, police under the control of Joe Biden, under the control of the mayor of New York City, Bill de Blasio, under those folks, under the left's control, they probably will. Will this keep black people out of spaces? Yes, it probably will. Does it? Yeah, probably does. Is it a conspiracy to keep black people out of spaces? Well, Democrats are racist. At least Civil War Democrats even beyond that, they have a track record of doing things that cause a disproportionate abuse or a disproportionate neglect to happen among African Americans. It comes from the left. It doesn't come from white people. It comes from the left, plain and simple. So I kind of agree. With this. And this squashes certain things. We've talked about it before, but the left always cries about how vaccinations are good, but voter ID is bad. Those are the leftist elites, the progressive left that wants to control black people. That's the folks that want to control black people. Look, I agree with voter ID. I don't agree with vaccine passports. Vaccine passports is something that isn't just racist against black people, but it's racist against all people who want to choose what's best for themselves as individuals. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Honestly, I'm shocked we hadn't already reached this point by now, and this is going to make for some awkward, uncomfortable moments for our liberal media figures who cover all of the vaccine mandate battles on a regular basis. When it's a group of mostly white people showing up to a protest, protesting vaccine mandates, it's easy enough for the liberal mainstream media to lump them all together as disgruntled Southern Trump supporters who refuse to follow the science and are endangering everybody else with their fake science, right? This is the left's fake science they're talking about. They aren't following any science. They're following what's best for themselves, what's best for the Democrat Party, what's best for the woke liberal progressive movement. When we don't follow that science, they say we are endangering everybody else. But now, the New York chapter of BLM is applying the same rule to the vaccination mandates that they do to everything else, with most of the media happily singing along with their choir. If anything ever impacts people of color disproportionately, they claim that the thing in question is racist, no matter what the underlying cause of the disparity may be. That's what they're doing here. But what BLM is tactically admitting here is something that we've already seen in all of the national vaccination statistics since the doses were first rolled out. Vaccine hesitancy is much higher among the Black and Hispanic Americans on a per capita basis. That pattern has held up in New York City all year, and when you start requiring vaccination passports to engage in public life, you're bound to be hitting Black patrons disproportionately. Most of our media mavens have been happy to blame the unvaccinated for everything, including the kitchen sink up until now. But will the hosts at CNN be willing to step up and blame Black unvaccinated tourists for their own inability to go out for a meal and say that BLM is wrong about this? Up until now, the press has been able to happily blame a bunch of conservative rednecks and point out how ignorant and unscientific they are to resist being vaccinated. The shoe is going to be on the other foot now, however. I can't wait to see how they plan to spin this situation, which they can't. All they can do is stop talking about it, which is what they will try to do. It's what they're trying to do with everything. But as Joe Biden fails and fails and fails, as the left-wing psychotic progressive movements fail and fail and fail, and as they eat themselves, the pile of failure will become too big, the floodgates will burst open, and they won't be able to hide it forever. All right? They won't be able to hide it forever. And when they can't hide it, when they can't hide it anymore, when it becomes so much of a gigantic growth, a tumor on the back of the American people, the American working class from all walks of life, the left will then have to ask themselves the question. The left will have to look in the mirror. They will have to say, oh my God, what are we going to do again? What will we do again if Trump wins? Which leads me to our final article. It leads me to the final thing we're going to talk about before we drive the point home. And it comes from a place, a surprising place. The Irish Times. The Irish Times of all places. I didn't know there was Irish Times. I don't even know. I don't think that was very Irish. That was like dying Shrek. Look. We're not here to talk about my horrible impression. We're here to talk about the Democrats, the progressive left, the crazy, crazy elites that are trying to take over everything, that had taken over everything successfully for a very long time, who have been exposed. We're talking about them losing even more control, even more power. The Democrats should recognize the possibility that Trump might win in 2024. This is from the Irish Times. This is coming from Ross Douthat. Is it Ross Douthat? I don't know. That was Scottish again. Ross Douthat. What has gone wrong for Biden is a combination of bad luck and bad choices. All right. Just like I said before. All right. The pile of failure has become too big. The elites have exposed themselves. All right. The whole thing, the floodgates are going to be blown wide open. American citizens with different views, all right? People that are openly socialist, that openly didn't like white people before, that openly stood against Trump, are now standing with Trump supporters, against vaccine mandates, against tyranny, against far left crazy tyranny. People are realizing that we could share some American core values while having other values that we don't necessarily believe and don't necessarily share. But the American way is that we figure stuff out. We find a way to work together and make things fair across this country. We find a way to reduce government power, restore states' rights. We find a way for people to coexist and for cultures and belief systems to be spread to different states across this country in the way they're meant to be, by people in those states deciding these things. Plain and simple. Not the federal government, not Joe Biden, not George Soros, not the Great Reset, not the Tsar of Russia from back 200 years ago, not Chuck E. Cheese, not nobody, but the American people. That's how it's supposed to be. So Democrats need to wake up and smell the roses. They need to smell the chocolate, smell the coffee, smell the burning bag of poop, because Trump may run again in 2024. We all know he probably will, and Trump will most likely win. Let's read. We just had a good week for anybody enthused about relitigating the 2020 election. First, there was new evidence reported in a new book about the Biden family from Politico writer Ben Schreckinger. We talked about that earlier in the episode. And in an insider story about the abortive Libya-related influence operation. We talked about that earlier in the show as well, suggesting the famous Hunter Biden emails were real and indicating how much his influence peddling depended on proximity to his father. The Twitter and Facebook decisions to censor the New York Post election season version of the Hunter Biden story looked partisan and illiberal at the time, and now they look even worse. Then, along with that spur to conservative frustration, there was a new revelation for Trump fearers. The exposure of the entirely insane memo that conservative legal scholar John Eastman wrote explaining how Mike Mike Pence, could supposedly invalidate Joe Biden's election. Quote, the more pessimistic take recognizes all the places where Biden's own efforts have gone astray. This was presumably the basis for Donald Trump's futile demand that Pence do exactly that. And it is understandably grist for the coup next time fears that already attend Trump's likely return to presidential politics. But sometimes looking backwards can obscure where we are right now, and that is a place where few Democrats expected to be when Biden took office, with his party in control of government, vaccinations ramping up, and hopes of economic boomlet growing. We all expected it. You remember? All of us here, all of us conservatives that were screaming on social media before they silenced us, of course. All of us who were saying, hey, we can see it. We can see the cognitive decline. We can see the puppet strings. We can see the elite old guard. We can see Hillary Clinton in the background with the invisibility cloak over her, cackling through Kamala Harris. We can see them. We can see the demons. We're like Constantine. We see them all around us. But the people... all right, the people on the left, the people that had been brainwashed, the left-wing progressive machine, nobody would listen. Nobody would listen. The courts, they'd all been infiltrated. The culture had been infiltrated. The people brainwashed, stuck in their cell phones, not paying attention while things were being swept under the rug. Nobody would listen. And Biden took control. But we saw it. We all saw it. I want you to be validated. I want you to know that you saw it, that I saw it, we all saw it. And now we're here dealing with this craziness. All right? They didn't expect Biden to lose his mind right in the middle of enacting the psychotic globalist agenda. The crazy agenda that actually hurts minorities more than helps them. The racist left-wing progressive agenda. The Democrat agenda. And we know where that party stood since the Civil War. The Democrats were the bad guys. They've always been the bad guys. This isn't a North and South thing. It's not just that the president's approval rating is dropping towards Trump-like levels and falling sharply among the minority voters who surprised liberals with the Republican shift in 2020. Trump's own approval may be rising. A recent Harvard poll suggests to a point where Americans think at least as favorably of the ex-president as of the current one. Along with any worries about Trump stealing the next presidential election, then Democrats should recognize the possibility that he might just simply win it. What has gone wrong for Biden is a combination of bad luck, bad choices, and inherent weakness. Weakness we all saw. Patriots like you and I, we all saw it. The bad luck is mostly about COVID-19 itself, whose Delta variant surge no president could have easily controlled. That may be the most important drag on Biden's approval rating, which started to decline in earnest around the time the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention restored a mask recommendation. You see that? The American people don't want your mandates. They don't want to hear it. They don't. This, in turn, points to the most optimistic take on Biden's situation. That is, political fortunes are simply tied to the coronavirus and will recover rapidly when death rates finally drop away. The more pessimistic take, though, recognizes all the places where Biden's own efforts have gone astray. He's done popular things incompetent. The retreat from Afghanistan was overdue. It was popular. It had the public support. But the administration's manifest unpreparedness for the Taliban sweep into power meant that Biden ceded any political benefit, he might have gained from pushing the withdrawal through. He has also let liberal confidence lead him somewhat astray on key issues. And we could do whole other podcasts on Biden's incompetence in Afghanistan, including the deaths of those brave servicemen and women. But we have to continue. Quote, it would be really helpful. By the way, just really quick, I thought it was awesome how Trump, the rally in Perry that he had the other day, how he had 13 seats set open for the service members who lost their lives in Afghanistan under that corrupt tyrant, under his orders, under Joe Biden's orders. They had to die for nothing. And if Trump was president, they wouldn't have had to die. But Trump had the foresight. Trump knew what to do in Afghanistan, and they just didn't listen. The left, Biden, they just didn't follow the plan. They had their own idea, and then people had to die. So at least Trump, God bless him, kept those seats there, showed the respect, and paid courtesy, paid respect, paid the dues, paid forward the dues that those folks deserve for sacrificing their life unnecessarily. May we never forget them. But Joe Biden, he has nothing for them. Remember, he was checking his watch. He was checking the time while they were supposed to be respecting the coffins. The families of those service members hate Joe Biden. They hate Joe Biden. All right? Plain and simple. Quote, "It would be really helpful if Biden had a vice president who balanced his weakness and reaffirmed his strengths. His big initial economic stimulus has turned out to be little more than inflationary and a little less stimulative than many of his champions expected, raising stagflation spectres that were definitely not in the Democratic game plan." Specters, excuse me, it's not spectres, but I was reading, doing the best I can, and his beleaguered, see, that's a bigger word than specters, his beleaguered border policy has demonstrated that just promising to be more humane than Trump is inadequate to the constant challenge of migration waves. And as many of you saw, Mayorkas, all right, the border czar, he has already admitted that over 10,000, maybe 12,000, maybe even more than 15,000 Haitian migrants have already been released into our population across the United States. And he won't do a thing about it. And his excuse is that that's not the policy of Joe Biden. And we follow the rules, laws, and policies put in place by the government. Basically, he's throwing his hand in the air and say, just doing my job, man. Just doing my job, man. And while he has passed one key test of governing acumen, getting Republican votes for his infrastructure bill, he's failed several others, letting his administration's COVID-19 messaging dissolve into dissonance and watching his own party's internal negotiations get snarled by squad versus Cinemansion disputes. In general, Biden seems to do best on issues that require neither spine or simple glad handling, holding firm against the generals who wanted to stay indefinitely in Kabul, keeping Republicans at the table for an infrastructure bill or deal. But worse, the more that success depends on a mastery of strategy or minute detail or a careful negotiation between hostile factions. Which should not be surprising, since Biden's inherent weakness is that he is an old man, suffering from some manifest deficits relative to his vice presidential self in a job that devours younger politicians. It's a very nice way of saying that he has dementia and he's losing his mind. That makes a change of luck seem like the best hope for recovering his presidency. That's all he could pray for, a change of luck, because it requires the least of him. If COVID-19 diminishes or vanishes, inflation becomes contained or temporary, once economic normalcy returns, it somewhat becomes contained. The immigration wave ebbs for cyclical reasons. Democrats maybe get their act together legislatively or don't, but it's a political wash. It's a S show either way. Whereas what should worry Democrats most are scenarios that require a lot from this president. Adaptability, finesse, a skillful use of the bully pulpit. Biden can definitely float back up, but I'm less sure that he can claw his way back as Bill Clinton did after his early presidency stumbles. Here it would be really helpful if Biden had a vice president who balanced his weakness and reaffirmed his strengths, who seemed more energetically engaged with policy and congressional pot-licking or politicking. I don't know why I said pot-licking. While others extending his normalcy and moderation brand should be required to inherit it. There should be accountability. I'll leave it to the reader to decide whether that describes the Kamala Harris vice presidency to date, or whether Harris offers more reasons for Democrats looking towards 2024 to fear not just chaos, but defeat. And they do. They have ultimate defeat to fear. They have ultimate defeat to fear. And here is why. Because at the end of the day, When you do this a lot, like I do, when you read the news all the time, when you watch the news all the time, when you deep dive, when you study this stuff, when you read the laws, when you read the legislation, you start to see the patterns. You start to see where the chess pieces are being moved, basically. And you see through the articles that we've talked about, through the different things that we've gone through, that the elites are being exposed, right? That Joe Biden's losing his mind, that Hunter Biden is an out-of-control, drug-addicted madman who likes to launder money. We can see all of these things. We can see that there are Republicans trying to save their own tail. We can see that some of those Republicans masquerade as Trump supporters, right? We can see that there are groups that don't see eye to eye with what we agree with MAGA, with America First. But maybe they agree with a little bit of what we believe in. Maybe there are ways to put some of our differences aside. Maybe there are ways that the people of this country can settle their own differences instead of relying on an elite-run, progressive, left-dominated, radical, tyrannical government. All right? Maybe, just maybe, instead of looking at each other, we need to stand next to each other and look at the elites in the eye and say, we're not going to take this. We're done. We're restoring this country back to the way it needs to be. And you can either stand with us, you can stand against us, or you can step out of the way. But we, the people of all colors, all creeds, all backgrounds, all beliefs, we run this country. We run this government. We have different states, different cultures, different regions, different beliefs for a reason. We are different. And there's something beautiful about being different and being able to find and maintain a balance. Nobody gets to destroy this country. Nobody gets to take over this country. We own this country. And the elites, it's time that they step back. It's time that they are exposed. And it's time that they are held accountable. Plain and simple. It's time that they are held accountable. And 2022, then 2024 is only just the beginning. It's only just the beginning. All right. And we're going to talk about this more and all kinds of other topics on the next episode of American Reveille. That's going to be episode 174. All right, folks. But before we go, the point that I'm trying to make is that the elites don't have a place in the future of freedom anymore. They don't. Plain and simple. They don't. Folks, do me a favor. If you haven't already, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, leave a review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, like, share, do everything you can to get the word out about the American Reveille. We are doing everything we can. We put the reports out in the newsletter. Go to AmericanReveille.com, REVEILLE.com. Get subscribed to American Reveille's newsletter. That way you'll get weekly updates and you'll never miss a thing. You'll see all of the blogs and articles that come out in our publication, and you'll see all the podcasts that come out. We come out every Sunday with a new podcast around 4 p.m. Pacific, sometimes give or take a few hours. We do the best we can, but it is well worth your time, folks. It is well worth your time. Check out the new website, www.americanreveille.com. It shows blogs, articles. We have all different categories, politics, memes. We have great content, and we are looking for more writers. We are looking for more bloggers. We need your help. All right. We really need your help. You guys, you've great fans out there. You are the bread and butter of this movement. We are sweeping across the nation, whether we have to go through AM stations, whether we have to go through the censors on the internet, whether we go through television, we have to find these different avenues to beat back the leftist propaganda machine. And we are you, and we are fighting together. American Reveille stands for that. It stands for hope. It stands for the conservative movement working together with all kinds of people from all walks of life to do the right thing and rid this country of the crazy progressive left-wing agenda, and let you know, to expose the elites and let everybody know that the world will not be run by them. We will not be puppeted by some rich, wealthy class of elites that want to do harm. All right. We are capitalists. We are pro-America first, and we believe in the freedom of every individual to choose their own path and be happy American citizens. Plain and simple. That is what we believe in. So check out the site, check out the newsletter, do everything you have to do to spread the word. I really, really, really appreciate you guys. And I thank you for listening to episode 173 of American Reveille with James Lane. And we will keep updating you. We will keep bringing you the news. We'll keep bringing you some entertaining stuff. And we will keep putting the narrative together for the right. Bye.